Good morning and assalamu alaikum. It's a pleasure being here moderating a talk on a very, very crucial topic, which is how AI and fintech will influence and change the digital landscape of Pakistan. The speakers before me highlighted the importance of this very, very topic, but it's important to delve deeper into how it will play an impact, what are the challenges, and what really do we need to do differently if we want to transform and really reshape digital transformation in Pakistan. To delve more into the topic, I would want to call upon a very distinguished panel of guests. The first speaker being Ms. Amna Abbas, who is the Chief Legal Officer and Company Secretary of Telenor Bank. Ms. Amna is a key member of the team leading Easy Pesa's transformation into a digital retail bank. She's a Supreme Court advocate and a barrister from the Honorable Society of Lincoln's Inn. Welcome. Our second guest is Mr. Faisal Mahmood, who is the head of National Digital Infrastructure of Karandas. He has over 23 years of experience working in the financial sector, with key focus on project management, digital banking, ERP implementation, and client management. He was also part of the team developing RAST, along with the State Bank of Pakistan, and has held many key positions such as head of IT and e-banking at NBP Etemad and head of National Payments Infrastructure in Karandas. Welcome, Mr. Faisal. Our third guest for this panel would be Mr. Nadeem A. Malik, who's the Secretary General for Pasha. He's a professional with 30 years of experience in premium organizations both in Pakistan and USA, and has served as key executive and managed strategic development, digital transformation, sales leadership, financial capitalization, and business development roles. He has a history of orchestrating new business acquisitions, account retention, diversification strategies, transformation management, and capitalizing on emerging markets. We welcome you to the stage, Mr. Nadeem. Our fourth speaker is Mr. Mujib Zahoor, who is the Managing Director of S&P Global. He's been with the company for more than 9 years and is heading the operations in Pakistan, Philippines, and Argentina. He's responsible for executing on organizational strategy in these 3 sites in close collaboration with leaders in data, content, news, research, technology, client support, sales, among other functions. In support of S&P's global commitment to diversity and inclusion, Mujib serves on the executive committee on the US-Pakistan Women Council, which is a US state development initiative aimed at empowering women in the workforce. So welcome, Mujib. And last but not least, we have with us Mr. Sardar Mohammad Abu Bakr, who is the head of Fintech Future at Jazz. With more than 20 years of experience working across countries in Europe and Asia, he's the recipient of Global Innovation Award from ITU UN for digital accelerator work. He has led teams and worked in multiple positions, such as the Chief Executive Officer, Chief Operating Officer, Chief Digital Officer, Chief Financial Officer, and many more. Welcome. To start off the conversation and understanding a little bit more in detail, I think I would want Mr. Mujib, if you can take a start. Can you please, based through your experience, you're the Managing Director of S&P Global, what is the synergy of AI and FinTech, and what and how do you think it will affect digital transformation within Pakistan? Any emerging trends that you can see?
Thank you very much. I think, as Pulkit said, I hope you haven't taken questions from ChatGPT and the tough ones are coming this way. I think my guests who have very diversified experience, specifically from a Pakistani market perspective, will be able to add to it. I'll just share, I think, 2 areas that in our experience at S&P, we've come across in various markets, including Pakistan, that are very, very applicable. One obviously is on the talent side. and one use case is on more of the broader country or for businesses. On the talent side, I think it's a huge opportunity, and we spoke about, several of our speakers this morning have spoken about how talent, it is important for, especially for a country like Pakistan, to be able to engage this talent, provide them opportunities. I think skill sets that have been generated and use cases that have been generated with AI or LLMs and fintech provide a great opportunity and are actually an opportunity for neutralizing or equalizing what we might have lost time on over the last 5-10 years to other markets around the world. This is a great opportunity for our talent, our young people who are still educating themselves right now or in universities, to equip themselves with these skills that will allow them to now compete at the world stage. One of our colleagues spoke about brain drain. I look at it slightly differently. I think in a post-COVID global economy, it is absolutely fantastic that our talent is finding these opportunities. It is great. I think other countries did that several decades ago and now are reaping benefits from it. So that's one impact from these new technologies around AI, LLM that I think is extremely important and a great opportunity for talent in Pakistan that I've come across. We've leveraged that talent at S&P. We've hired people with these new skill sets, these new talents, because we are a global company operating in more than 100 countries. Wherever we find the right talent for those skill sets, we're able to hire them. And finding that talent and nurturing that talent in Pakistan has been phenomenal, and we want to continue doing that. On the product and businesses side, I think, and again, I'm sure my fellow panelists are going to be a lot more specific in terms of examples from within Pakistan, but I think the opportunity for businesses is really, it's not even, I don't think it's optional anymore. Leveraging these new technologies and diversifying their businesses using these technologies is absolutely a must and a necessity, because otherwise we will just not be able to, I think Pulkit spoke about, or maybe Asad spoke about our competitiveness. That competitiveness is not going to improve or not going to be at par with where the world is unless we're able to leverage these use cases. I have some specific examples which I can share later on what other geographies are doing, but I'll let maybe some of my fellow panelists speak a little bit more about the specific impact in Pakistan.
Perfect. Just to have one slight question regarding what you just said, being aware of the fact that the talent needs are changing and you're good at acquiring that particular skill set, what is S&P Global doing to really build those capabilities at this point in time?
Thank you. We can go on for that on that question for quite some time. I'll talk about two programs very, very specifically. We just completed a pledge that we had done 3 years ago to mentor 20,000 girls and women in STEM skills and employability skills in Pakistan. We are very, very proud of that accomplishment. We've touched upon 120 different cities. This was in partnership with the US-Pakistan Women Council and the US Mission in Pakistan. And we saw some wonderful results in that program, where we were able to provide necessary skill sets to young women and girls that helped them gain employment. If there were young entrepreneurs, they were able to use these newly acquired skills to enhance their businesses. And again, this is, a woman in Tharparkar running a small business from her home, getting Excel skills, getting basic skills, using basic models to enhance their small business is a fantastic accomplishment. The second one, which is more self-centered, I would be the first one to admit, we definitely have a strong what's in it for us, but I think is an advantage for everyone, is a program where we work with universities on developing some of these new skills, developing some of the skills that are very highly sought after but just not available. My colleagues and friends who have heard me speak will be bored by this example, as well as my people who attend. You know, we hire for Salesforce developers. We can't find them. I mean, I say this everywhere. Give me 200 Salesforce developers today, we will hire them tomorrow. But we can't find that skill set in Pakistan. So we've tried to work with universities, develop these skill sets. And this is just one example. There are plenty of other examples. Some very interesting roles. I think Asad and Pulkit both spoke about this. We got this role called a cyber risk auditor. There was basically a combination between what accountants who are going to save the world after Superman are going to do, as well as somebody who has this cyber experience, understands the risks attached with it, that come from that entire ESG subject matter expertise. We don't have that skill set, so we're trying to build that in partnership with universities as well as other professional bodies such as ACCA as well. So I'll stick to those two, plenty of other examples as well.
Thank you so much, Munib. I think it's heartening to see how S&P Global is playing its role in developing the talent. I would like to move on to Mr. Sardar Abu Bakr. I think for the sake of the audience and based on your extensive experience, can you first explain the role of fintech in Pakistan, its evolution, a little bit of history, and then also explain what does the future hold and what would that mean for Pakistan, specifically in terms of digital transformation?
Sure. Thank you, Alina. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I think fintech can be viewed as a fancy term, but to simplify it, it's about using technology, in my view, to using technology to benefit the masses. I think when we limit the definition and scope of fintech to something that we will view only in conferences or exhibitions or international sessions, then it's very limiting. For a nation like ours of over 200 million people, fintech should be about leveraging technology, digitization to benefit the masses. Ab us space mein, over a period of time, there have been a lot of developments, and we should recognize that. And a lot of that has been recently also in the financial inclusion space, specifically in financial services. I think over the last decade or so, we've seen the needle move in terms of the number of people who now have a bank account in Pakistan. A lot of you and a lot of us who have help and other people at homes will have accounts from Easy Paisa, Jazz Cash, and other digital wallets that have enabled people to get access to a financial service on a click of a button. I think that's a major milestone, and I have to compliment the role that regulators have played in this, including the State Bank, the Ministry of IT. They have facilitated that environment. So सबसे ज़्यादा जो हमें benefit नज़र आया, that's been in terms of financial inclusion. But I think we need to go a little deeper when we talk about the numbers, right? I do believe it's financial inclusion and financial technology in fintech is the great equalizer. It should eradicate the difference or reduce the difference between rich and poor. It should alleviate poverty. And I think we need to ask ourselves whether it's doing that or not. There are so many social taboos in our society still. We're very lucky. We're sitting here, we're attending these conferences. There are many women in Pakistan who cannot use a mobile phone. But to have a smartphone and an account that you can open and have an Insta page, you have the ability to run a business. I think that's a worthwhile cause, right? I think that can really push our generations forward. So we do now see that fintech is enabling us to get access to better financial services. Digital credit for SMEs is a very, very important part of an economy, Alina, right? SMEs in Pakistan are not usually favored clients when you go to a financial institution. अगर मैं एक छोटा कारोबार करता हूँ, and I'm sorry for moving to Urdu, I'm not sure whether everyone, do we have foreigners who, Pulkit, you understand Urdu, right? I think, yeah, Pulkit, you, yeah? So I think थोड़ा सा उर्दू में भी बात कर लेते हैं. अगर मैं एक छोटा SME हूँ और मैं जाता हूँ बैंक में कर्जे के लिए, मुझे तो लिफ्ट नहीं मिलने वाली भाई. I think fintech has that ability, Alina, to actually use credit scoring, to use the ability to use B2B2C models to say कि अच्छा अगर फूड पैंडा का होम शेफ है और वो 70% ख़वातीन है और उनको एक कर्जा चाहिए एक हफ्ते के लिए, क्योंकि उनको सिर्फ अपनी वर्किंग कैपिटल नीड पूरी करनी है, पेमेंट आनी है, पेमेंट जानी है, स्टॉक चाहिए, ताकि वो कुछ खाना बनाएं और प्लेटफॉर्म पे बेचें. If they want to do that, Fintech has that ability to then deliver those services. How? मेरे पास तो शायद वो उनका डेटा नहीं होगा, लेकिन फूड पैंडा के पास तो उस खातून का डेटा होगा ना कि वो कितना कारोबार करती है, अच्छा परफॉर्म करती है, नहीं करती है. We can leverage that to pre-credit score and deliver credit to SMEs. So I think these are just some examples. To summarize, Leena, I think Fintech in Pakistan is moving forward. The next wave of this is to make sure that we leverage AI and Fintech to benefit the masses. Even when we speak about all of the fantastic efforts that are being done in digitization, we need to see whether it is going to help us improve our education, our healthcare, our agriculture, and then I'll share some examples in the next round on that as well.
Thank you so much for that. Building on to the conversation, we do understand a bit of how FinTech is now working. I will now move on to Mr. Nadeem Malik, who's the Secretary General at Pasha. You have been dealing and looking after digital transformation and transformation for many years. And building on to what Abu Bakr was saying, so there is a wave of transformation that's already happening. What do you see in terms of any success stories, any key trends, and also building up a little bit more, what are the challenges that you foresee if you have to make this transformation successful?
Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum. Glad to be here. I appreciate that. I think it's certainly a privilege to be. What Abu Bakr said, I think, is very simplified the terms what fintech is. But let me just elaborate a little bit and expand what that means is. We every day, single day, we all deal with the money and we all see the money flow in our pockets. Some money we spend on a cash, some money we spend on a credit card, some money we online transfer, sometimes we buy some what you call durable products, sometimes we have a house or some property buying it. So we all seeing this, the money transform in our life, and one hand to another hand. What fintech is bringing, the fundamental is change how this money is transformed from one person to another person. So that's one thing. So what the fundamental platform, they see it, the innovation comes into the play is who is having the data and how I access that one. So Abu Bakr said very pointedly right said that what is the use case and how we can do that. For example, the food panda one, having a small loan giving to the household lady who sell the food onto it. And the food panda holds that wealth of data. They have to give it to somebody so they can have this transformation part of it. So people who are catching this idea is the one who's making innovation onto it. That's where the key holds of innovation. A lot of people don't see this connectivity part. They don't know how to connect these two parts, where the data is and where the utilization comes into part. And that's one of the fundamental part. So where Pakistan is heading, because we have the fundamental problem of sharing the data. Somehow, for many, many years, we heard this over and over, the data is gold, the data is next oil. So whoever is holding the data is just like a holding onto it. So it's like extracting the oil, but you don't know refinery, you cannot really refine it, you cannot turn it into diesel, you cannot sell it because it's my data, whether it's a telecom, whether it's a bank, whether it's the government, you never know. Everybody who's holding the data is basically, they are the one basically strangling the whole innovation system on this part. So fintech will go to a downstream and giving access to the data only when we open this reservoirs of the data. That's number one. The number two is what kind of regulatory environment comes. Specifically, I think the fintech is only one idea which is very heavily regulated environment. So if you talk about e-commerce, you talk about software development, you talk about generative AI-based software development, they're not much regulated yet. But the fintech is entering in an area which is very heavily regulated as well. And we all know our regulatory environment is always essentially behind what the requirements on the ground today. So I think that's what we need to do it. When the access to the data will be available, innovation will be more flourish. Fintech will go to reach the idea where inclusion comes in. And of course, the access to the capital will be available to the small businesses, to household, the peer-to-peer funding. I think that will open a new horizon and the floodgate of innovation in this country as well.
Thank you so much, Mr. When we're talking about fintech, a key player, as Abu Bakr mentioned, is Telenor and EasyPesa. And recently, Telenor Bank acquired a digital bank license. So, Amna, can you tell us, being a legal expert, based on all of course, we also touched upon regulation, what is your role in terms of this transition, and what would it mean for the people in Pakistan?
Right. Thank you, Alina. Thank you so much, Alina. Yes, we are very proud and pleased with the digital bank license, and we're looking forward to creating more opportunities for Pakistanis with it. I think that EasyPaisa has always been at the forefront of this sort of fintech revolution, and they've always pushed the boundaries in terms of regulation as well. What we're very excited about right now is that we have a very, very understanding regulator. We have a very forward-looking regulator. And Pakistan is one of the few jurisdictions in the world to actually introduce the digital banking in the form that it is taking today. So that makes things easier now than they would have been in the past when we first came up with this whole financial inclusion and that whole setup and system. I think some of the challenges that we're facing together. So with that first roadblock and a big one out of the way, I think the regulator and the industry, particularly EasyPaisa, but I think all of the industry are sort of hand in hand in trying to overcome some of those challenges. And I think that unfortunately, some of those challenges are quite constant despite a lot of technological advancement, right? So as one of our esteemed panelists mentioned, data is quite at the center of it. We continue to struggle with the balance between data protection and data sharing. And of course, with AI and fintech evolving, we're going towards more international partnerships, more international collaborations. So then cross-border data sharing is a huge problem in terms of being a regulated Pakistani bank, right? So a fantastic initiative by State Bank is the cloud services that they're allowing banks to now employ. But there again, we have data challenges that come up. We also, of course, have data protection challenges. And then at the same time, when interacting with, say, Europe, we have to overcome the strict data protection that they actually regulate. So those are some of the issues. Fraud remains one of the issues that we continue to tackle. I think we've really led the way last year in overcoming fraud over our accounts, and I think State Bank and the entire industry have really recognized that, how much we've reduced it. Their AI will, of course, aid us as well, but as a skeptical lawyer, I wonder how fraudsters are going to employ AI to come up with innovative ways of fraud, because they keep surprising us. They're just a couple of steps ahead. And then I think going forward, one of the challenges that particularly in Pakistan we face is counter-terror measures, is AML, and of course KYC remains where it is. So those are some of the areas that we're really now looking into. We've always been looking into them, but now as we go more paperless, as we become more digital, as we try to give a wider suite of products on our app, we really look towards perhaps more collaboration, more partnerships. I think EasyPaisa, the future of EasyPaisa is really anchored in partnerships and collaborations. And the way I see it, I think the regulatory landscape needs to move towards that as well. We have some fantastic regulators in Pakistan with the right mindset. They need to start collaborating between themselves to make things easier for us. We shouldn't have to follow a lot of red tape and running to one regulator for one thing and another for another. And lastly, before I close this, I think I might run out of anything else to say if you have another question. But I think what's really important is to find new ways to harness the power of our regulators, also to help banks hold their customers accountable. I think the old systems of criminal law and civil remedies, they won't keep up with the with the modern fintech customer. So that's.
Thank you so much. I think you talked about some valuable insights, specifically about the dangers of AI also. You can use it to your advantage, but then of course, so can people who want to use it for bad. And I think the previous speaker also spoke about how we need to be ethical and be careful about the use of AI and the biases that of course go with it. Another key important point, thank you for sharing, is the importance of collaboration. And I think I would also want to thank again ACCA, because this is again one step where we're having those important conversations. We have been talking a bit about extensively a little bit more about banking and fintech, and we will move a little more into AI. But before that, when we're talking about banking, it is very, very important to note that in the past few years, we were very proud, or Pakistan was very proud to be one of the first, or one of the few countries that developed and implemented a push-based payment system, which was ROST. And I'm sure everybody in the room now know what ROST is. And we have with us a key member of the team who not only envisioned this, but also was part of implementing it. So Faisal, can you please explain to the crowd what ROST is, even if they know the name? What does it, a little bit more detail into it. And also, while banks are connected to ROST, how can fintechs leverage it more for the benefit?
Right. Thank you, Alina. Appreciate the invitation by ACCA to speak on this. ROST, I mean, we have been discussing about fintechs, what fintechs do, send money from one place to another, make our daily financial needs come true. ROST is an enabler. It enables all the payments. So there was a need for a central payment system which was supposed to settle the payments instantly. It was supposed to be very simple. I mean, I remember from experience going online and making payments to someone, I had to figure out that the person to whom I had to make the payment, does he or she have a 10-digit account number or a 7-digit account number or what it is. So it was supposed to be simple, where the mobile number becomes the account number, irrespective of what bank the account sits in. It was supposed to be real time. It was supposed to be push only, because massive number of frauds were happening around the globe, and the payments experts, based on the level 1 principles, they figured out that one of the ways to curtail frauds was that you push the payments rather than someone else coming and pulling it out of your account. So these were some of the principles, and then there was also supposed to be a central shared fraud detection system, which would, I mean, at the moment, every bank is responsible for detecting frauds at their end only. So it had to be a central facility. This is what was the basic need of ROST. So it is there. We have multiple use cases implemented in Pakistan. You can make bulk payments, simple peer-to-peer payments, and even the merchant payments are now enabled. Now, I do agree with you that yes, at the moment there are about 32 odd banks that are connected to ROST. Fintechs actually are the future. If you ask me, 10 years from today, the banks will just be brick and mortar buildings. They'll just be account holding institutions, nothing more, because the kind of value added services that the fintechs can bring in, the banks cannot manage it that way. And fintechs specialize in this, multiple value added services. Now, at the moment, fintechs do get connected, can offer services just like the mentions of Food Panda. And there are other like Credit Fix, and DG Khata is something an accounting software works for. There's Quick Pay, different payment solutions. They're all connected to the system through one of the banks at the moment. But yes, I do agree they have to be directly connected to actually enable and leverage ROS's actual potential for the end customers. That's it.
Thank you so much for giving us details into it. Wahjoc, considering the fact that S&P Global is looking after data, technology, sales, there's a lot of domains. Have there been any successful use cases of deployment of AI? And if you can share your learnings, challenges regarding that.
There have been many use cases across multiple areas. A couple I'll share examples from. One that I was thinking when Abu Bakr was speaking about impact on the community, and our earlier panelists spoke about that as well. So one of the things we do as a business is we provide risk assessments, and we underwrite scores for when entities or governments or banks or government entities are doing any bond issuances. We recently came across this use case where one of our AI models was deployed, where the government of Japan was looking to issue a bond that would basically fund housing for underprivileged people or population in Japan. Now, traditionally, that is a very high-risk market that would not see a very high yield when it comes to people subscribing to that particular fund. But leveraging our AI models, leveraging those models on data, we were able to provide a more transparent, more specific scoring methodology for that particular use case that resulted in that fund performing at par with any of your traditional funds. Usually, this falls under sort of what would be ESG enabled funding, and so these funds sometimes do not perform at the same levels. But AI, leveraging those new technologies, really allows you to do that. The other thing that we've looked at this very, very closely, I'm sure it is applicable to a lot of other businesses. LLMs are talk of the town. Everybody and their grandmother wants to use one or is building one, which is great. However, we as a data company that develops proprietary data, that's sort of what the business really relies on. We firmly believe that the value on proprietary data is not going to get taken away by any of these LLMs or developments in AI. So this utopian concept that now AI or LLMs are here, everything is going to get handled by them. I'm sorry to burst that bubble for those of you who were living in that one, that's not really the case. For example, at S&P, we believe that we are going to be LLM model agnostic. We're going to develop models on top of that. For example, one of the things we do is we help companies keep a track on all regulatory changes that are going to impact them in their lines of business. So it's a model that we build. Companies use our platform to track all of that, and they can go in that platform and develop a compliance mechanism for all those regulatory changes. Now, we've developed a large LLM model. It's called RegGPT internally, that uses components from ChatGPT, uses components from Anthropic, I think if I'm pronouncing it correct, that's what it is, right? And uses some other components as well to build that capability for our clients. So I think that model of leveraging these technologies, not just doing what's out there, what is flashy and sexy, and we just want to use it to leverage what Abu Bakr said in Urdu, कि अन्यवा आपने जाके जो है वो AI और LLMs नहीं लगा देने. You have to see what is relevant for your use case and leverage those models in that way. At S&P, we found that to be a very, very successful model in both those use cases.
Thank you. So it's flashy, but I'm assuming it's also expensive. So if we really have to, we're talking about large use of AI. Any thoughts and ideas of how to make it sustainable in the long run in terms of making it not expensive and accessible for everyone?
I think it is as expensive as developing any new product, I guess. So when organizations are going to continue to invest in making new products, why not invest in making them using these new tools and technologies versus not utilizing them? I think as far as accessibility is concerned, we've seen, slightly philosophical response, but I think we've seen through our history, as things attain scale, their costs will start coming down. Already, we are seeing that in certain use cases. So I think it is about adaptation. It is about equipping yourself with the right skill set. If, as organizations, as individuals, if we are able to do that and make, one of the things, for example, in our organization, we spend a lot of time and energy in equipping all our 40,000 plus team members across the world with resources that they can use to learn about these new skills. Because only then they will be able to leverage. I was sharing a ride with one of my colleagues on the way here, and we talked about how, you learn prompt engineering, which is one of the concepts within AI, and it teaches you fun things that you can do with your kids, right? Now, when you say accessibility, I can't think of something that's more accessible that you can use in your day-to-day life. So I think some of these concepts are important. We need to sort of engage with them, and that is what will eventually help in bringing down costs on them as well. Once the adoption is across the board.
Thank you so much. Building on to, again, I would want to move to Mr. Nadeem. There are specific goals that Pasha has set out. And in terms of AI, are there any specific developments, ideas, or goals set that would help Pasha achieve its goals and, of course, then help Pakistan?
I heard in the morning as well that we have population which the average age is 28. A lot of people call about, earlier speaker mentioned a lot of challenges, but say, no, this is our strength. At the Pasha, we believe rather than we take it as strength, as such a large young population, we should take this as the challenge. Because if we don't train them, if we don't enable them, I think they can become a problem. It's an economic problem, it could be other problems as well. So I think this is a challenge, and then on top of challenge, it's a collective responsibility. So as a Pasha, as an IT industry association, very closely working with Ministry of IT, because that's where our main focus and collaboration works. The policy is one part, but implementing those policy into reality is another one. So for example, the training for the next era, we talk about AI. So if I look at my technological age, I have lived the dog years. So I think that's when I started with a PC with the floppies on. Most people probably haven't seen it. The point is what exactly coming next. So where the AI is heading towards. So I'm going to talk about specifically about the AI as well. So AI is the same thing with 30 years ago the computer comes in. When the computer came in, very started, people say, this is my brain now. I don't have to really type on a typewriter. I can type on a computer. He can do my spell check. Wow. I really don't have to open a dictionary to spell check. Computer can do spell check. That's the first explorer to the AI. So I think this era, if you see in the last 50 years or 30 years of thing, is a platform change. Before, it was a computer comes in, as in a platform. So computer comes in, then the internet comes in. Another platform comes. E-commerce and all those websites that build on the internet platform. Then comes the mobile. Then another platform comes in. So every 15 years, 20 years, there's a platform shift cycle. Then we see the cloud. So rather than you have servers on your server room, you have a cloud. So there's a cloud. On each segment of the platform transformation, the policy and the role of industry association and the Ministry of IT or any relevant authorities are responsible how those platform change are trained, enabled, policy friendly. AI is another platform change. It's scary because it's a fast pace. It's a little bit, people are scared of the job. People are scared of the jobs in the steam engine anyway. So I don't think so. That's a new era. Create a more job. Prompt engineering, another job. Most of our technology, I think, has got a profound effect on it, specifically the software industry. People are saying coders are not going to be there. So what's next for the coders? People say the content writer is not going to be there. So what's of those website people who write the contents, what they're going to do it, ChatGPT for them as well. But the new jobs coming in. So platform building for AI. So Pasha has taken this challenge, and we're working very closely with the Ministry of IT and HEC. We develop programs where we can train our young generations. So degree focus is one thing. Again, Haris mentioned as well that it's a skill set. So we need to have a skill set development in our young generation. So we are embarking on a program with Ministry, HEC, and NAVTAC to train 200,000 people on technology, 16,000 through NAVTAC, which we call reskill program. So that's a reskilling. A lot of people have graduated, but they want to reskill towards it. I think and the AI policy is, again, I am against and I think the policy should come when everything is largely built, rather than policy come when, it's not built. I think, but the closely relationship with the policy build, we want to encourage the cloud platform, data protection, data sharing, and all those things, which is enabling part of our AI mechanism in Pakistan. So we can take the only bias out of the AI when we have a data sources coming from the different source of truth, not coming from the single source of truth. I think that's what Pasha is taking and enabling and helping with all the stakeholders.
Thank you so much. I think it's very heartening as an HR professional to hear you stress upon, and I think it's important for everyone to hear that it's a very common myth that AI is going to take away jobs and make everyone redundant. In reality, it opens up a lot of opportunities and will potentially give rise to more employment opportunities. So thank you for touching upon that. Abu Bakr, you have been part of and co-authored the 9-point agenda, financial inclusion, and you also worked on the Women Inspiration Network. So a lot of work on empowering women and also in financial inclusion. When we talk about fintech and AI, what do you think is the role, or how will it impact diversity and, of course, specifically females in Pakistan?
You can tell this is an intelligent audience. You know, in 2023, wo Pakistanis na hum wo memes mein bade achhe hote hain. So in 2023, there was this meme that I saw that a speaker would come and say, the talk starts and says AI, and then everyone starts clapping. Yeah, wow, this is impressive, because it's so fancy and it was so new that just saying AI, you would be a fantastic speaker and be invited to every event. But coming to your question, Alina, I think I'm going to give 5 points that both the private sector and the government should be working on. There is a lot of effort that is going in, both from the private sector and the government, but using this opportunity. And now AI and fintech can actually benefit diversity and society at large. So I'm just going to make 5 quick points in the interest of time as well. Number one, let's use data and insights and fintech to micro-price and fractionalize everything. What do I mean? If you want health coverage, why can you not get health coverage by paying a charge or a premium on a daily basis? आप नहीं afford कर सकते महीने की health insurance. Insurance companies, digital insurance aggregators, एक दिन की insurance, हफ्ते की payments आपसे क्यों नहीं ले सकते? आपको तनख्वाह जो मिलती है वो महीने के बाद क्यों मिलती है bottom of the pyramid को? They have no cash flow by the end of the month. Why can't we bring wages to a daily, weekly, bi-weekly basis? If someone at the bottom of the pyramid wants to get electricity or gas in this winter season, why can we not use segmentation, AI and fintech to say, you know what, मेरे पास शायद इतने पैसे ना हो कि मैं महीने के लिए अपने बच्चों को गैस लेके दूं, लेकिन मेरे पास 2 दिन की जब सब सख्त ठंड है तो मैं 2 दिन के पैसे दे सकता हूं. तो why can't I have my bills and my access to utility services on a daily, weekly basis? At the same time, why can I not fractionalize gold and savings? A lot of us in Pakistan cannot access savings. क्या डालेंगे? 100 रुपए पे saving का क्या return मिलेगा पाकिस्तानी को? Why cannot I get access to a part of a gold bar? Why can I not get access to a part of a larger committee saving? So fractionalizing and micro-pricing utility services, healthcare services, loan services. If I want a loan, why should I get a loan for a whole year if I need a loan for only a working capital for 7 days or a supply chain? So that's number one. Number two, skills. 26 million Pakistani kids possibly out of school. चलें जो पाकिस्तानी स्कूल में हैं, 2 चीज़ें mandate कर देते हैं. One is the education of how to handle money. We can't raise a generation where we ensure कि यार the gap will always remain. ये नहीं कर सकते. Let's make how to handle money mandatory in schools for the kids that are in school. Let's leverage the fintech capabilities of the industry and the government, and let's segment. Let's use AI to make sure that happens. Point number 3. As we control coronavirus using localized AI and data sets, let's use that for inflation. Any demographics in Pakistan is a large country. Inflation is determined by the demand and supply in the markets. Why can we not create localized inflation management centers for demand and supply, use AI depending upon the prices and the availability of goods and services and the access to key consumer goods that dictate the CPI index. Same thing on gender inclusion and diversity. You know, there are many parts of Pakistan where we still say कि यार ख़वातीन को हमने स्मार्टफोन नहीं देना. वैसे है कितनी शर्म की बात है ना. मतलब पता नहीं ख़वातीन को हम स्मार्टफोन दे देंगे तो क्या हो जाएगा, right? I think let's leverage AI, let's use fintech to make sure that we're not only opening up accounts for women customers, but we are understanding their financial services needs. Globally, there were 1.3 billion wallets open. I was speaking at GSMA last year, Mobile World Congress. 1 billion of those were not active. Account khula hua hai, आधे लोगों को पता ही नहीं account खुला हुआ है. But let's use AI to say, you know what, we have a women's segment that has a need in textile, has a need in consumer goods, has a need in retail. हम कहते हैं जी women products. बिनते हवा नाम रख लेंगे, निसा नाम रख लेंगे, and we'll say यार pink color लगा देंगे, women products. Done, हो गया. So I think these are the 4 or 5 suggestions. I think it's not anyone's responsibility, but I do truly believe it's a big opportunity for us, Alina. We're in the 1%, honestly. Seriously, हमारी जो मुश्किलात हैं, and to conclude, वो दुनिया की मुश्किलात से कहीं different है. So I hope collectively we can channel some of those thoughts.
Thank you so much. I think very rightly so, it's not one person's responsibility, it's everyone's responsibility. And I think it gives us more opportunities to leverage information, data, and really make an impact. So at least it makes me optimistic in terms of what can be done more for women in Pakistan. Well, we're talking about this topic, and Wahjoc, you also mentioned initially a few years back when we would mention AI in the room, it would be what does it mean? We still have various meanings and definitions of AI pop up, but I think as a group and being senior leaders in organizations, I'm sure all of you had to keep up to date with the terminology, and I think I would want to ask you, Amna, in terms of how do you learn? How do you make sure that you are up to all the digital terminologies and the knowledge? And I think for any advice to the audience and how can they seek knowledge and make sure that they're up to date?
I love how you've asked the backbencher about that, because as a lawyer, I think I would perhaps be at the bottom of the pack in terms of organically getting access to all of that. I think that one thing that's very key, and this I've sort of realized by being an outsider into the fintech world, I come from a very legal, very litigation background, is I think staying engaged with your business teams. And for those who are actually at the cutting edge of technology, who are at the cutting edge of business and development and product development, I think staying closely connected with them is a great way to sort of understand. As a legal department, for example, in my context, a lot of times legal departments are used as just sort of rubber stamping contracts or things like that, where we review it. I think it's very important to become, again, sorry, I sound like a broken record, but to become a partner in all of those, all the things that you do, to truly become a partner and to truly get engaged in the aspect, or in all aspects of a product or a project. So, I mean, I'm lucky I work at EasyPaisa, so I have access to a lot of those resources, but I think otherwise just sort of reading podcasts, staying in touch with what's happening, just looking things up. I think just quickly taking this opportunity to add that, even if you stay connected with some of the more like COP28 that happened, or the World Economic Forum, you learn a lot of things. And I think one of my ideas on AI and regulation developed from reading up a little bit over there was that, we really need to look into international regulation. The world is already looking into international regulation of AI, and sort of ensuring fair distribution of technology, or fair availability of technology. And as Pakistan, that's something that really concerns me, right? We always end up being the ones catching up to things, or perhaps being deprived. So I think keeping an eye on international regulation like that is very important, and of course ensuring that it's used equitably and used fairly and not for nefarious designs. So yeah, I think just reading up, just general staying in touch with information. But just sorry. one last, now that I have a mic and I'm a lawyer, I just want to add to what Abu Bakr said. I think we would just, this is not self-promotion, but just confirming what he said, I think, fragmenting savings and things like that really helps. We already have a product on the app where you can buy gold at 100 rupees a day, or even as low as 100 rupees a day. And also, I think with the whole women, and as a woman, I'd just like to add that, just adding the name or, making a name or adding a pink ribbon to things doesn't really help. I think true, genuine engagement is what we need to begin with. And just, we go many steps ahead in trying to get women to get into banking and fintech, whereas what we need to do is we need to engage with them first so that they become familiar with these. I see your time's up, so I'm going to give you your floor back.
Thank you so much. I think I'll just maybe take a few extra minutes because we were talking about learning, and I think it's important that for the audience, when we're talking about AI and fintech, I'm just going to direct and ask Faisal if you can very shortly answer, because I would want the audience to leave away with some new concepts also. So when we talk about fintech and AI, concept of open banking comes up. What is it? What does that mean? How do you see that interplaying in Pakistan? What's the future?
Open banking is also a fancy word these days, just like Nadeem Saab said. So, but honestly speaking, I think it's around the corner. The central bank, State Bank of Pakistan, has already started issuing pilot principles to certain entities. What's important is how, like I said earlier, fintechs will rule the financial world in next 5 to 10 years in Pakistan. With open banking, what will happen is, just imagine, I'll give you a scenario. There's a person who makes 100,000 rupees a month. That's the salary. AI, based on the data and everything available to it, there's a license in the PSD2 model, which is AISP. Basically, with that license, the entity will gain access to the customer's banking information with the consent of the customer. So just imagine, AI would know what are going to be my expenses for this month. They know I've got a doctor's appointment, and the doctor is going to charge me 2,000 rupees. And I've got this appointment, and I've got utility bills, looking at the last 12 months or 2 years. For instance, last October, what was the electricity bill that I paid? And rather, how many units I consumed. So this month, exactly after a year, I'll probably consume the same number of units. So it will calculate everything, and then it will say that out of this 100,000 that you have, after the month, you'll probably be left with about 20,000 rupees. Now, it will automatically suggest me that out of these 20,000 rupees, keep a buffer of 5,000 and invest the 15,000 in a certain mutual fund, which has been doing good in the last 3 months, 4 months. So that money, which was supposed to be in my account for the entire month, or something that I need probably at the end of the month, AI will tell me, help me in investing that money and make money on top of that. That's one model that AI can do. So we are already at RAS piloting something with one of the fintechs. And this is truly inspirational for me. This is fraud, predictive analysis for frauds. Now, one of the, for instance, one insight that we got looking at the previous frauds and transactions, if there's a transaction happening from a female's account, a woman's account, on a weekend, Saturday, after 6 p.m., it's most likely going to be a fraudulent transaction. Or a scammer is defrauding the woman. That's one analysis that we done. Or AI could, in real time, so what fraudsters do is they transfer money from, you transfer it to one account and then they transfer it to multiple accounts. They'll figure out what accounts are being used. And the moment a transaction happens to one of the accounts that were in a chain probably a month ago or something, it will instantly alert you. That's how AI is going to help our future for financial payments. I know the time's up. I just wanted to be quick. So I think it will be very, very important going forward. And it's not going to cost us jobs, just like my fellow said earlier, it is going to help us being more vigilant, and obviously with this, new things will start coming up. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Faisal. I think it's fascinating how AI application is happening in real time. I think I would want to open up the floor now for anyone in the audience, if they have any question from our panel members. And yes, Ma'am Aisha.
Yeah.
Yes.
I just want to highlight one dimension which was discussed here, which is data protection. Because Ministry of IT is working on data protection law, and it is at a very advanced stage. Some of you have highlighted the importance of data. So one aspect is monetization of data, where anonymized data can be used for more targeted services, or for providing new services to customers. And on the other hand, like the woman who can have access to her data with Food Panda to access, some of the financial services. So there are a lot of use cases for data where private sector can really open up growth opportunities. So I think this is a very good forum. ACCA can maybe, come up with use cases and start a dialogue with the Ministry of IT that whether the current data protection law is friendly to those economic opportunities or not. And we are open to listen to private sector comments. We have shared it with Pasha, but I think this is an opportunity to share with everyone and come up with your suggestions to make regulation more business friendly. Thank you.
Thank you. Amna, would you want to comment on that?
Thank you so much for that comment and for that invitation. I was actually making a note of the fact that I must connect once I get off stage, because I think that's a challenge that comes up almost every day. Anytime we have a contract, anytime we have anything, we also have very robust ethics governance system, and there also we have to face this constantly, and in fraud, in risk management. So I believe that a good, well-rounded law with the industry's input is going to be really, really useful for a way forward, and it's going to give us the room to perhaps grow. So thank you very much for that. Thank you.
We are looking forward to more input from the private sector. Draft is available publicly, and we can have a dialogue anytime.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah, we only have time for 2 more questions. So if there is any question, otherwise, yeah.
अस्सलाम वालेकुम। मेरा एक ऑब्जर्वेशन ये है कि कोई भी नई टेक्नोलॉजी आती है तो एज ए नेशन हम उसके इस्तेमाल पर नहीं उसकी खुशामद शुरू कर देते हैं, और ये मैंने कई जगह इसी तरह की कॉन्फ्रेंसेस अटेंड की हैं। तो एक्चुअली एक तो ये ऑब्जर्वेशन, दूसरे कि हम टेक्नोलॉजी को जो भी नहीं आते उसको लोकलाइज कैसे, उसके अंदर अभी भी मुझे लगता है कि लोगों से वो कनेक्ट नहीं होती वो टेक्नोलॉजी, लोगों को पता नहीं होता कि उसको यूज़ कैसे करना, उससे बेनिफिट कैसे लेने हैं। तो ये इस वजह के टेक्नोलॉजी को लोकलाइज अपने लोकल लैंग्वेजेस में किस तरह इसके ऊपर इनिशिएटिव बहुत कम नज़र आते हैं।
Any comments from the panelists?
I think the ChatGPT question, definitely. I think that you're absolutely right. Localization is the key to get a benefit. We have to talk about, whenever we talk about examples outside the Pakistan. What happened in the US, what happened in the region, what happened in Thailand. So very few examples in Pakistan, you're absolutely right. We are not localizing it. But having said that, does not mean we are not localizing it. There are a lot of applications been localized, specifically in Fintech area, because you're all using some kind of wallet, you're all using some kind of online, you're using the internet banking. I think these are an example of localization for all those applications in Pakistan. Agriculture is also another area. A lot of information technology is being used localized as well. AI is the one thing which is going to hit us in very near future, because a lot of data is available in a lot of organizations, and data protection will protect you, personal data as well. The most vulnerable, I think, the data protection is our young kids. I think that's one of the area I think we have to be very, very sort of careful on that, because that's where the focus will be. So localization is happening. I think we all just somehow have a habit of not discussing local products. As a Pasha, most of our organizations are inward focused in developing application for Pakistan. Whether this is a point of sale you use, whether you're using in any application in your mobile phone, is done in Pakistan. And most of the international application you're using in your phone or on your mobile or smartphone or your home or laptop are being developed in Pakistan. Gaming and animation, and an example, Pakistan was very sort of prestigious things on. I'll just take 30 seconds to define AI, what scary part of the AI is. Why we call it artificial intelligence, not intelligence. And that's one big barrier. A lot of people agree around the world is not going to be overcome. Is human can imagine. That is one thing which AI is not doing it. They cannot imagine. Human can dream. Human can imagine. That's the difference between intelligence and artificial intelligence. So that big gap is still there, so don't be afraid of it. Two things which I learned from my life. If you see the PC revolution, when the PC start coming in, HP, Dell comes up to it. When the internet comes in, there's an e-commerce comes in, eBay, and PayPal and everything. When the cloud comes in, Facebook, Google comes onto it. They all take the advantage of the shift in the platform. AI is another platform which is enhancing your ability. Let's see what you can build onto it. They're going to be a company who's going to offset all these companies you're seeing today. So I think the AI is an opportunity for Pakistan, for our industry, for our whole sectors to build something on and catch up with the world.